My wife said she needed space to find herself. Found out she's been finding herself in our neighbor's bed for 6 months. I'm 32 meter, married to Sarah, 29F, for 3 years, together for 6. We live in a quiet suburb outside Phoenix where everyone knows everyone and the HOA president waves at you while judging your lawn. Last Tuesday, Sarah came home from her book club looking like she'd been wrestling with something heavy. She sat on our couch, the gray one we bought at Ashley Furniture, after arguing about throw pillows for 2 hours, and said those words that make your stomach drop. I need space to find myself. I was folding laundry, holding one of her yoga shirts that still smelled like that lavender detergent she insists on. What does that mean? I asked, though I already felt the ground shifting. I feel lost, she said, staring at her hands. Like I don't know who I am anymore. I got married young, went straight from my parents' house to ours. I need time to figure out what I want. My first thought was panic. My second was guilt. Maybe I'd been a terrible husband and didn't know it. Okay, I said slowly. Maybe I could stay at my sister's for a while, she said. Just temporarily. To think. I wanted to fight it, to demand we talk it through, but she looked so fragile sitting there. If that's what you need, I said. She packed a bag that night, kissed my forehead like I was her brother, said she loved me but needed this. I helped her load her car because that's what you do when your world tilts sideways. You keep moving. The house felt enormous without her. I ate cereal for dinner 3 nights straight and left her coffee mug in the sink because washing it felt too final. I called my buddy Marcus, who said all the right things about giving her space and how she'd probably be back in a week. She wasn't back in a week. I threw myself into work, stayed late at the office, came home to a quiet house and Netflix. Sarah texted me occasionally. How was I doing? She missed Buster, our dog. She was working through things. I asked if she wanted to talk. She said not yet. 2 weeks in, I was taking Buster for his evening walk when Mrs. Chen from across the street flagged me down. She's 70-something, retired, and knows everything that happens on our block. How's Sarah doing at her sister's? She asked, scratching Buster's ears. She's figuring things out, I said. Mrs. Chen tilted her head. That's funny. I could have sworn I saw her car at the Hendersons last night. And the night before. My stomach dropped. The Hendersons live 3 houses down. Rick Henderson is 41, divorced, works in tech, has a motorcycle he revs at inappropriate hours. Sarah always said he was nice enough when we'd wave at neighborhood barbecues. You sure it was her car? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Blue Honda, right? Same little dent on the bumper from when she backed into your mailbox last year? I nodded. My mouth went dry. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a text from Sarah that would explain everything. Nothing came. At 2 a.m., I got up, put on shoes, and walked Buster past Rick's house. Sarah's car was in his driveway. I stood there for 10 minutes, Buster sniffing around a fire hydrant, while my brain tried to process what I was seeing. Maybe she was just visiting. Maybe they were friends and I never knew. Maybe there was some innocent explanation. But I knew. Deep in my chest, I knew. I walked home, sat on my couch, and stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next day, I called in sick and drove to Sarah's sister's apartment across town. I knocked on the door, heart hammering. "Oh, hey," Jessica said when she opened it. "What's up?" "Is Sarah here?" I asked. Jessica's face went weird. "Sarah? No, I thought she was staying with you guys." "She said she was staying here," I said. "To get space. To find herself." Jessica's expression crumbled. "Oh, shit. Oh, no. Come in." We sat at her kitchen table while she made coffee with shaking hands. She asked me to cover for her if you called, Jessica said. She said you two were having problems and she needed time to think. I thought, I thought she was at a hotel or something. Not, not at Rick Henderson's, I finished. Who's Rick Henderson? I told her. Jessica put her face in her hands. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. She said it was complicated that she'd explain later. I should have asked more questions. I drove home in a daze. That evening, I texted Sarah, we need to talk. She called an hour later. What's wrong? She asked, like she actually cared. Where are you right now? Silence. Then at Jess's. Jessica says you're not. More silence. Longer this time. Sarah. I'm at a friend's house. Rick Henderson's house? The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, how did you... Mrs. Chen saw your car multiple nights. How long? She started crying. It's not what you think. How long, Sarah? 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Why was working late to save money for the vacation we'd planned? While I was researching couples therapy because I thought we were in a rough patch, while I was buying her favorite ice cream and leaving little notes in her lunch. So when you said you needed space to find yourself, I said you meant you needed space to keep screwing our neighbor without me getting suspicious. That's not fair, she said, voice thick with tears. It started as friendship. He was going through his divorce. I was feeling lonely. You will feel lonely? I interrupted. We live in the same house. We sleep in the same bed. You couldn't talk to me about feeling lonely. You wouldn't understand, she said. You're so content, so satisfied with everything. I felt like I was disappearing. So you disappeared into Rick's bed. She sobbed. I love you. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. For 6 months. That's not an accident, Sarah. That's a choice. Over and over. I want to come home, she said. I want to fix this. I looked around our living room at the photos of us on vacation, the throw pillows we'd argued about, the coffee mug still sitting in the sink. I don't think you can, I said. Please, she begged. I'll end it with Rick. I'll do therapy. I'll do whatever you want. You already ended it with me, I said, 6 months ago. I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Then I called my boss and took a personal day. Then I sat on my back patio with Buster and tried to figure out how to rebuild a life I thought was already built. Sarah showed up that afternoon. I watched through the window as she sat in her car for 5 minutes before getting out. She looked terrible, red eyes, messy hair, wrinkled clothes. I opened the door before she could knock. I ended it, she said immediately. I told Rick it was over. I want to come home. Okay, I said. She looked surprised. You can come get your things, I said, but you're not moving back in. Her face crumpled. Please don't do this. I made a mistake. A huge, horrible mistake, but people work through this. People forgive. Some people do, I said. I'm not some people. She pushed past me into the house, like being inside would change my mind. Buster ran to her, tail wagging, and she broke down completely, hugging him and sobbing into his fur. I'll sleep in the guest room, she said. I'll give you space. I'll prove I can change. Sarah, stop. I'll quit my job if you want. I'll move somewhere else. I'll do anything. I want you to be happy, I said, and I meant it. But I can't be the person who makes you happy anymore. You made sure of that. She looked at me with mascara streaked down her cheeks. So that's it? 6 years together and you're just done? You were done 6 months ago, I said. You just didn't tell me. She packed more clothes while I sat outside with Buster. And she came out, she tried one more time. What if we go to counseling? What if we start over? How do I start over with someone who lied to my face every day for half a year? I asked, how do I trust you to go to the grocery store without wondering if you're really going to see Rick? She didn't have an answer for that. After she left, I called Marcus. He came over with beer and pizza, and we sat in my living room not talking about it until he finally said, "You doing okay?" "No," I said, "but I will be." The divorce papers were filed 2 weeks later. Sarah contested it first, begging for mediation, for counseling, for one more chance, but eventually she signed. The house sold faster than expected. I moved into a downtown apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and no HOA president judging my non-existent lawn. Buster adjusted to apartment life by claiming the entire couch as his bed. I heard through the neighborhood gossip chain that Sarah moved in with Rick officially. Mrs. Chen told me this while I was loading the last of my stuff into a U-Haul, and she shook her head like she'd seen this movie before and didn't like the ending. "Good for you," she said. "You deserve better than that nonsense." 6 months later, I ran into Sarah at Target. She was in the pharmacy section, looking tired, holding a basket with vitamins and face wash. We made eye contact across the aisle and both froze. "Hi," she said. "Hi. How are you?" "Good," I said. She shrugged. "Okay." Rick and I were figuring things out. I nodded. She looked like she wanted to say more, but I was already walking away. I had groceries to buy and a life to live, and it didn't include standing in Target having awkward conversations with my ex-wife about her relationship with our former neighbor. That night, I cooked dinner for one, watched a movie Buster didn't care about, and went to bed in my own space without wondering where anyone else was or what they were doing. It felt like freedom. Updates. Update 1, 2 weeks after confrontation filed for divorce. Sarah is still trying to convince me to go to counseling, but I'm done. My lawyer says it should be straightforward since we don't have kids and kept our finances mostly separate. I put the house on the market. Buster is confused about why his favorite human doesn't live here anymore, but he's adapting. Rick apparently tried to end things with Sarah after I found out, but she convinced him to give it a shot. The neighborhood drama is apparently epic. Mrs. Chen gives me daily updates whether I want them or not. Update 2, 1 month later, house sold in 3 days over asking price. Moving to a downtown apartment next week. Sarah signed the divorce papers after her lawyer told her she didn't have much choice. She asked if we could have coffee to talk, and I said no. My therapist says this is healthy boundary setting. I'm learning to cook actual meals instead of living on cereal and takeout. Buster approves of the chicken I made last night. Update 3, 3 months later, divorce is final. I got Buster, my car, my 401k, and half the house money. Sarah got her car, her stuff, and apparently a reality check about what finding yourself actually costs. I heard through Marcus that Rick is already getting cold feet about their relationship being out in the open. Turns out sneaking around was more exciting than actually dating. Who could have predicted that? Update 4, 6 months later, ran into Sarah at Target. She looked rough. Rick and her are figuring things out, which I'm pretty sure means it's falling apart. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sadness, just nothing. Went home, made dinner, watched Netflix with Buster. It was a good night. I start dating again next month. My therapist says I'm ready. We'll see. Update 5, 1 year later, life is good. Really good. I'm dating someone new. Emma, 30, works at the art museum, has never lived in my neighborhood or slept with any of my former neighbors. We're taking it slow, which turns out to be nice when you're not worried about anyone lying to you. Sarah and Rick broke up 4 months ago. She moved back in with her sister. I know this because Jessica texted me to apologize again and to let me know Sarah was getting help. I wished her well and meant it. Buster has claimed Emma's lap as his second favorite napping spot. I take this as a good sign. Final update: 18 months later, Emma and I moved in together last month. Different neighborhood, better coffee shops, no HOA drama. Buster has his own Instagram account now because Emma thinks he's photogenic. Sarah got engaged to someone she met in therapy. Jessica sent me the announcement. I think to prove Sarah is doing better, I'm genuinely happy for her. We all deserved better than what we had. Sometimes finding yourself means losing everything you thought you wanted and discovering you're okay with that. The best revenge really is living well, and I'm living pretty damn well these days.